one of the key elements that they use in their scams is the use of urgency, and there's going to be some time-sensitive thing.
Hey everybody, welcome to our Blue Collar Wealth podcast. Today, I have this is going to be hopefully a very helpful podcast for almost all of you who in today's world are getting phished or potentially hacked. Phish is, I don't know, not the kind of phishing I used to do with my dad, but in today's world, it's using media, using emails or scams to basically hack into your personal credentials and into your accounts and do a lot of harm in a lot of different ways. So with me today, I've got one of my partners, my founding partner, Scott Stone, with us. And Scott does all of our compliance in our office, but he does a lot of the technology as well. And he helps us navigate through these issues because it's not just us as advisors, but it's all of our clients that are subject. It's really everybody, right? Even our family members are constantly saying, what should I do here? How do I deal with this message? So
Sure.
One thing I will give Scott a really big credit for is you have us as advisors, and everybody in our office is subject to a training that we do. Basically, we get sent these on purpose. We get sent these bogus emails or these texts that try to bait us into clicking into it. And we get yelled at if we do, but we actually pride ourselves that we don't really click into those because we're getting very good at sort of sniffing out where the bad stuff is coming from. We know what to look for. And that training has done a lot of help. It's helped us a lot, but most clients, most people out there don't have that training. They're not getting paid for that. And things can still happen, right? So with me today, Scott, I want you to help, let's spread the word, because we've seen some of our clients blatantly get phished, if that's the right word.
Sure.
So on the screen over here, I have all these different types of hacks, and there's way too many to mention. I don't even know what some of these are called, but
Smith's fish and fish.
Right. There's spear fishing and farming and angler fishing. I don't know what all that is, but the point is this. Most of us have phones, we have email, and we have our device, whether it's a laptop or our phones or iPads and things like that. All those things they're figuring out ways to hack into you and get all that stuff for you, a lot of different ways. So let's talk about the main. Let's start with emails and stuff. So what are some of the key things that somebody should look at before they start clicking around?
Yeah.
Let's start with the basics.
So I guess the umbrella that all this falls under is social engineering, and there's a lot of different versions of that, as you pointed out earlier. A lot of different ways that the scammers are trying to trick the ordinary Americans or people across the world into giving them information or money or both, so that they can make a lot of money without having to do a lot of work. In fact, it is a lot of work, so they should probably be doing something more constructive with their time. But so they put a lot of time and effort into this, into tricking ordinary people into giving them very valuable information and or money. And coming back to your question on email, that has been one of the most common scams, but now it's also spilling over into text message scams, voice message scams, just conversation scams, video conferencing, and now it's being exacerbated by artificial intelligence, because now scammers can actually make very realistic looking video and audio impersonating other people, so that you might think you're having an actual one-on-one conversation, even a video conversation with someone else, and it's not really them.
Right.
And so it is becoming more and more and more problematic, and they're very successful a lot of the time, and they are able to scam a lot of people out of money. There usually are some remedies for the individual. Most of the financial institutions are insured and will reimburse you for certain losses if it was related to their fault. But if you get tricked into just voluntarily giving somebody money, that money is gone and you're never going to get it back. So we need to just make sure our clients and all the people viewing this are very on top of the current scams, generally speaking, but they're always evolving. So even if we gave you a full list today, tomorrow there's going to be a new one. And so we'll just kind of cover a couple of the top ones, I think, that give you a kind of a flair for the kind of tricks that people are employing in the smishing, phishing, vishing type of vibes.
It feels like this is like a germ,
Yeah.
right? Like as long as you do like basic things like wash your hands and
hands.
stuff, you're probably good.
Pretty good,
And
yeah.
maybe a little thing here and there won't be too bad. But some of these things are pretty deadly to your finances, right?
Yeah.
So there's some really big things that we definitely like. There's some serious red flags we want to help people understand. Like when it comes to emails, I know like one of the first things you always look at is where did it come from, right? It says it's your bank or it says some financial institution. The first thing you do is you check. And I think the biggest giveaway that I find most is misspellings of the address that got sent to me or where it came from, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of Scott Stone, it'll say Scott, but it'll have 3 T's in your first name instead of 2.
Yeah.
And that to me right away is good. First off, I would say anything that requires like an immediate action and click this link or open this attachment, right? That's obvious. I think most people know that, but not everybody does.
Yeah.
Don't click anything.
The scammers do a really good job of building urgency because they want you clicking and giving them your money before you talk to somebody else that might know more about this topic or before you do your own research and figure out that it is a scam. So one of the key elements that they use in their scams is the use of urgency, and there's going to be some time sensitive thing. I've seen various scams, including tax scams, where they say, the IRS never received your payment. You have 24 hours to send us $10,000, and if you don't, we're going to have the feds come in and haul you off to jail. And they paint this really scary, dramatic picture. And if people act quickly, they're much more apt to actually turn that money over and then find out later that it wasn't actually the IRS. So most of these institutions that are involved in these scams would never actually reach out to you. Like the IRS is never going to send you a text message and say, hey, you're late on your payment, send us some money. But it does become very tricky, especially older Americans are often targeted in these different types of scams because they're not as good typically as younger people at technology, and so they get a little verklempt with using some of these different using some of these different technologies and trying to sort through the modern day scams.
So, like, wouldn't the really good advice be when you get whatever message, right? Especially if there's urgency, right? So just kind of take a breath.
Yeah.
Don't click anything in the email, right? Take a second to look at, number one, where did it come from? Number two, what is it asking, right? And if it's asking for money or accounts or passwords or anything like that, definitely put the pause button, hit the pause button. What about if they're asking you to click through to a website or anything like that, right? It claims, and we've had this, right? We've seen that it'll say, we know you have an account here. It'll claim to be from that financial institution, and then it will want you to click the link so that you can go and enter your username and password and get in and fix whatever the issue is. But that link takes them to a false page. It's not the real institution where their money is, right? And so if you click that link, it looks like they're walking you through a show and you're buying it because it looks legit. So the real answer really, like, take a pause and correct me if I'm wrong, but pause, hold on a second, take a deep breath, think about where this is coming from, what they're asking, and then say, okay, how do I go and find this out myself? So if it is your bank or your advisor or somebody else, now you don't do it through that email. You hang up, you get off that site, close your email, whatever, you call or you walk into wherever, like, you go and use your own method of communication saying, I got this message, is this legit? And let them verify. In most cases, no, it's a phishing scam. Yeah.
If you use a known method to contact and verify that organization is trying to reach you. So for example, a lot of people across the nation do business with Fidelity Investments, one of the broker dealers and custodians that we use. And so this scam came out where a lot of people across the country were receiving a text message supposedly from Fidelity Investments saying it's, this is Fidelity and you need to click this link and enter your username and password and log in, or we're going to delete your account or something along those lines.
Right.
And hopefully no one fell for it. We didn't notice anyone falling for it, but a lot of our clients reported it to us. And that's just one example. So that website was fake, and Fidelity had to do certain processes to get that forced to be taken down so that clients weren't tricked into clicking that. Another example would be mailers. I've seen instances of actual physical mail in your mailbox, and it'll look official, and it will say, you're being sued by XYZ company for $1,000 or $15,000 or whatever the number is. Sometimes it's very small because they want to get the money as quickly as possible, and they'll say you have 48 hours to send money to this address. Otherwise, we're going to sue you for whatever they claim to sue you for. Another example would be a phone call saying it's the IRS and you have back taxes due, and if you don't pay it within 24 hours, you're going to go to jail. Another example was DirecTV. Somebody called saying they're a representative of DirecTV, and DirecTV was upgrading all of their equipment, and you had to send us a payment for $2,000 to get the new equipment. Otherwise, we were going to shut off your television service. So I've seen a variety of scams across email, telephone. So sometimes it's an actual human being, a voice, and they can get really good at scamming. And they use love, they'll use fear, they'll use government, they'll use police, they'll use whatever they can to try to trick you into giving them money very quickly so that they can get your money and move on to the next person.
So I just had one before, like an hour ago, and it came a text, and it was from the post office about a package they couldn't deliver.
Yeah.
I know that's BS.
Yeah.
I know because all the packages go to my front porch. But that's happening more and more. Text is becoming more prominent.
Yeah.
The one that really scares me is the AI one you referenced in the beginning of this conversation. And I remember seeing, I don't know, it was on YouTube or something, but I remember seeing a video of them applying AI where it was like a college student. It was her voice, but it was AI generated, and it was calling her parent and saying, I'm stuck somewhere. I'm on the side of the road. I need you to send money. I forget exactly what it was, but it was a panic-stricken voice. It sounded just like any parent would fear to get from your 20-year-old. Yeah. And it was requesting stuff like that. And I think the only solution I have for that right now is that you establish a safe word with your your password or safe word, whatever you want to call it, and just say like Buttercup or something like that. Don't use Buttercup, use your own word. But like, something that hopefully AI could never get a hold of. Sure. But only like the close people in your family, the 3 or 4 of you in your family know what that is. Because I do believe that's probably coming down the pike more so than email phishing and stuff like that. And that's a really hard one to combat. Yeah. Time keeps marching on, and technology keeps evolving and getting better and better and more human-like. And so AI is one more iteration towards becoming more similar to humans. And so with artificial intelligence, typically it's not operating autonomously. That's the fear for the long term, is that you're going to have these autonomous computer systems that are essentially attacking human beings. But in the short term, can we save that for another? That would be that's a whole other one. Yeah, we'll do the post-apocalyptic view of that. So in the short term, it's going to be human beings using AI to do research and to impersonate. And so they're going to use AI tools to try to learn everything about you that's on the internet, anywhere they can, whether it be the actual official internet that we all use, or it's the dark web, where a lot of your information is unfortunately stored from various data breaches across all the different organizations that have had the data breach. It seems like every day I see another report of this large organization lost 10,000 users' information, and it's, usernames, social security numbers, date of birth. It's all out there on the dark web. And so there's a lot of information that they can pull from with these artificial intelligence tools, and they can use that information to trick you based on this familiarity with you. Like they might know your aunt, and they found your aunt's name, and they realize your aunt lives
far away. So they'll say, "Oh, Aunt Rita is in the hospital and she really needs some money right now. She apologizes for the inconvenience, but she wanted me to give you a call. I'm her neighbor," and they'll concoct this whole complex story based on this information that they've mined from the internet or the dark web to use against you to get you to send money very quickly because your aunt's in the hospital, or in your case, like you said, with that example of, your daughter has been kidnapped. I saw one of those where there's a ransom thing. Your daughter's been kidnapped. The daughter wasn't actually kidnapped, but they spoofed her cell phone number and they called from her cell phone number and said, "I have your daughter." And, but it was completely fake.
That's high tech, yeah. Even with AI, everybody becomes an FBI profiler.
Yeah, right.
Like they can piece all this together.
Yeah.
People don't realize. I think when you look at like Facebook, how many times you see somebody go like, somebody's birthday is tomorrow, because all these things will come in on their page. They probably shouldn't have that out there.
Yeah. There's a ton of Facebook scams. That's a whole other subcategory of scams. Right. And so there's a lot of fake profiles, and it'll be your cousin, and you're like, "Oh, there's my cousin. They're giving me a friend request. Must be they had to delete their account or something."
Yeah.
But really it's a fake person using your cousin's profile, and then they'll use that profile to try to mine data out of you, or try to get you to sign up for some program, or give them your username and password because they need to get into your Hulu account or whatever it is. And so there's 100 different versions of that con that's out there that works through social media, email, your SMS text messaging, physical mail, voice, and now even video. So coming back around to that AI concept, supposedly there's an example floating around in the industry magazines that there was a large financial institution, and they had a client call up and say, "I want to do a wire transfer." That's the most dangerous type of transaction, wire transfers, because usually once the money's gone, it's gone. There's no tracing it. There's no getting it back. It's gone, and you'll never see it again. And so we try to avoid wire transfers as much as possible in our organization. But in this supposed event that happened, the con artist requested a wire transfer. The financial institution did theoretically all they could to verify that. So this person said, "I'm not home. I can't meet with my normal advisor. I can do a virtual conference call, a video call, and then you'll know it's me." And so they said, "Great, let's do that." So they got the person on this video call, and it looked like them. It sounded like them. They knew the information that they needed to know. So they wire transferred them that money, and it turned out to be completely fraudulent. They had one of the what do they call those?
Filters?
Filters, Snapchat filters. So
I don't know anything about that.
They were able to mask their faces, mask their voices.
Okay.
And so it was them sitting in front of a camera, but then the camera had a lot of technology in it that would convert how they looked and sounded.
Right.
And so it's getting scarier over time. And so I think the best tools that you have are, one, be paranoid. I'm normally not a fan of paranoia, but in this case, it's becoming so rampant and so prevalent and so often. You're going to be getting dozens per year, if not hundreds per year, of these scam attempts coming through various channels. It could be Facebook, it could be your text message, it could be an email, it could be somebody calling you up, it could be a mailer that you're getting in the mail, and they're all trying to trick you into taking quick action to give them the money. So your best tools in this case are, as you said before, slow down, take a pause. None of this, specifically if they're saying it's very time sensitive and you have 24, 48 hours, 72 hours to get back to them.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, probably not true, and it's probably a scam. Secondly, find a friend that is knowledgeable in these topics. It could be a family member, son or daughter. It could be your trusted professional, your financial advisor. We encourage our clients to reach out to us if they feel like there's some sort of scam. Reach out to us, and we'll try to vet that. And so we've had clients forward emails to us and say, "Hey, what do you think about this email I got about back taxes?" And we have to kind of talk them through that and see if there's any validity to it. So slow down, take a breather, don't panic, and then consult with somebody who knows about these topics, or even going online. You have to be careful when you go online because there could be more scams. But if you look online at valid websites of how do I avoid common scams, they can give you some tips on different types of scams. And there's even websites out there that track current ongoing scams where you can say like what kind of scams are happening today, and you'll find like, oh, there's a USPS, United States Postal Service scam going around where they say they have a package for you, but it's not really a package. You click the link, they ask you to log in, and then you give them your credentials, and they steal all your money. And so you can look up those scams. If you feel like you're being scammed, you can kind of verify whether it's a scam or not using some web tools that are out there.
Yeah, you know the story. I was with somebody who, with their Venmo account, as we were sitting having at a restaurant, we were sitting chatting, and $50, $75 was being swept every 5 seconds out of their Venmo, and they get ding, 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 got all this notification, and they basically had to close their account and then contact and get it shut down. And so everything can be subject to this. I don't know. I guess ultimately the AI thing, the video thing, that's a lot. It's a scary thing, but I think just being vigilant, right? Mm-hmm. And this goes into real quick, two-factor authorization. Like when we push that in our office as well. I think people should be aware of that. You want to talk about that for a quick second? Yeah,
it's a great point. So two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, because you can have more than just two, is more than one method of proving you are who you say you are. So usually, historically, we had a username and password. You know the username, you know the password, you get in the account. The problem is that a lot of hackers have attacked these large organizations, and they've pulled your username and passwords out of these large banks of information. And so then they know that this username conforms or corresponds with this password, and then they can go out to various websites, because unfortunately most people reuse their username and passwords for
please don't
many
reuse,
sites.
Please don't. You know who you are. You're doing it. Please stop. Different password and username.
So try to use different usernames and passwords, because they'll find out from some big data breach that you use this username and password, and then they'll just go through all the common websites and apps and tools that people use, and they'll just start entering those credentials in and to see if they work. And they have computer systems that are doing it. Many times it's not even humans pressing the button, and that's why you see all those CAPTCHA things that are kind of annoying. It's like,
are you human? Yeah.
Click all the things with a picture of a bike in it, and that's because they're trying to make it trying to keep ahead of the intelligence of the machines, because they're becoming more and more intelligent. And so they're trying to do image recognition and to see if they can outsmart the computers. Are you a robot? Those are the standard kind of questions that are asked.
And people they're not hacking this so that they can use your Netflix account and watch what they want, right? They're looking for your credit card numbers, your social security number. What about locking your credit down? Right. Yeah. We do a lot of that. I do that. I don't know where you stand on it. You can lock your credit, you can freeze your credit, and basically, so no one can open up a new credit card or new borrow money basically in your name or tied to your social or whatever. But it's a little bit of a hassle, because when you do want to open an account like that, you have to unlock your credit. Yeah. But in today's world, that's very easy to lock and unlock.
It's become much easier. When early on when you locked it, you had to know this 37-digit code. You had to write it down and put it in your safe. And anytime you want to unlock your credit, you had to go in your safe. So you're at a store and you want to buy a couch, but you can't because your credential is locked in your safe at home, and so you have to.
That's why you should buy everything with cash.
Yeah, right. Anyway. But so now it's easier, as you point out. So now there's apps on your phone that can keep track of that information, or you can even just use the Notes app in your phone to keep track of those different codes, as long as your phone is password protected and encrypted, which you should always have that protection on there as well.
But the two-factor is great, because you still do the username and ID or password, and then usually a lot of times it's your phone, right? So they just text it to your phone, or they send a message. You have to enter the code back in, and
we've gotten to a point where most entities are assuming that your phone is kind of an extension of you. It's something that's always going to be on you, and it's something that is harder to hack, at least, than an online account, because it's a physical device. and there's a lot of security on that physical device to prevent people from getting in there and accessing your information. So a very common one would be a text message verification. So you enter your username and password, and it says we're going to send a text message to a known phone number. It's important that it's a known phone number that's already on record. And so then they'll send a text message to that phone, and that dramatically increases your security because it prevents somebody from a different country that's not even near you from just using your username and password, getting in, doing anything they want. So in this case, they'll have to, they'll enter the username and password. You'll get a text message saying, hey, you're trying to log into your Yahoo account. And you'll be like, no, I'm not. And so you'll just hit deny, and then they can't get in there. So text messages is very common. There's also apps on your phone, which are very popular. You can download an app. Most of them are free. They're called authentication apps, like Authy. Microsoft has one, Google has a popular one, and you can set it up so that the website sends a signal to that app, and only people that have your phone with that app, with your username and password for that app on your phone, can authorize that person to log into.
It's like an extra layer.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard when you have family, right? Because a lot of times if family members in a different spot and they log in, and it's coming from a different IP address, so they send a warning to you saying someone just logged in. You're like, wait, where are my kids today? Where's my wife traveling, or something like that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't want to close the door to them and say no, it's a violation, but
right. Yeah.
Some of those are legit.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful.
True.
We're covering a lot. And I look at that screen where we've like just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we're probably 15, 20 minutes in. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Is there any last things we want to say? I mean, I guess ultimately our messaging here is you're going to get phishing and hacking messages and emails and phone calls and everything. You will get those. So learn how to combat those, learn how to decipher what you're looking at. First and foremost lesson is to just kind of slow down. Don't hit a panic button. Don't hit anything. Just give it some thought and think very deliberately about your next step.
Yeah, plan ahead. Think of in your mind one or several people who are very knowledgeable in these topics that are in your circle, in your family, your group of friends, and always bounce these ideas off of someone else before you give somebody your username and password or log into a website that you think seems a little fishy, or before you wire somebody money because they tell you you're going to go to jail if you don't get them money in 24 hours. So plan ahead. Know that these scams are going on, and you're probably going to receive dozens, if not hundreds of them going forward. The proliferation of these scams is increasing largely due to AI. So it's going to happen more and more, and they're going to become more and more complex. And as AI evolves and gets better, the realism of these scams is going to become more and more and more real, and it's going to be harder and harder to distinguish between reality and fake. And so be diligent, be paranoid, know that this is happening, and always slow down and consult somebody that you know that has a lot of information in these areas.
Sage advice from my partner, Scott Stone. And hopefully this was helpful for you guys. So if you like what you heard, give it a like. If you have some ideas or some things that you want to drop in the comment section, do that. If you're a hacker, please move on to another video. Hope this was helpful, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.
Scott. Yep. Thank you.